And the only reason they can do that, because we're still reproducing.
Yeah.
There's lots of new people that are coming into the story. And when Violet's not able, Michelle will be able. And when Michelle is not able, Terry will be able. There's always going to be somebody to... Do not let them treat you like a number, please. I found an article that was talking about weight loss from a carbohydrate point of view, challenging the calories in, calories out model. So I thought today it would be interesting to look over the article and see what's being brought to the table, and is there anything revolutionary coming towards us? I'm excited. Hello, Honest Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat. And it was, refreshing, and I would say almost unfortunately refreshing, because we've known that information for so long. Perspective published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition argues the root causes of the obesity epidemic are more related to what we eat than how much we eat. So that's an important fact, because it's like right off the bat, I think, undo the calories in, calories out model for something else.
I honestly feel like the recent carnivore challenge that we did proved that in spades already. How much meat were we eating? And we didn't gain anything. I gained not even a pound, nothing. I stayed the same. I'm going to be smiling a lot in this video. My face is going to be so tired after this.
Statistics from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, shows that obesity affects more than 40% of American adults. 40%, that's like
what I want to
huge.
point out there is they said obesity.
Wait,
not
no.
excess weight, not overweight. They said obesity. That's a specific term that means that you've crossed the threshold to be considered obese.
And the thing is, like, the USDA's Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2020-2025, so like this is just right now, further tells us that losing weight requires adults to reduce the number of calories they get from food and beverages and increase the amount of expended through physical activity. They still...
One of the things that I find frustrating is that if I got to the point where I was obese, what are happening with my joints and body? Like, I wasn't obese yet. Well, maybe I was. With the weight that I was at and the pain that I was feeling, if somebody would have said to me, Violet, now what you got to do is you got to go run some relapse and exercise, would I have been able to do it? Not at all. Not even a little bit. So the kind of exercises I probably would have had to do, would they have used enough energy for me to fight what was happening? Not at all.
So this approach to weight management is based on a century-old model, which states that weight gain is caused by consuming more energy than we actually expend.
There's knowledge that's being pushed away for us to do an action that makes no sense.
Yeah, indeed.
Or actions, there's two.
Yeah.
Eat less, move more.
What they say next is by this thinking, overeating coupled with insufficient physical activity is driving the obesity epidemic. On the other hand, despite decades of public health messaging exhorting people to eat less and move more, it's still rising like crazy. We did some stats like in a past video not so long ago. Even in the children, it was like
25%.
25% of the children are obese, and this is since 1972, I think.
I think the thing that this also ignores, so the children don't decide what they eat. We do. And then we feed them what we think is healthy. They're children. They're moving and running around all the time, and yet our children are 25%, like,
Obese,
of them are obese. Does that tell us that maybe it's not the running around, that maybe there's something in what we feed them that's causing the problem?
Problem might be also that we feed them what we eat.
So 100%.
So that's
100%.
like, we won't feed our kids healthy stuff if we don't eat healthy ourselves, because we might even think as parents that it's not that bad what we eat.
But I'll add to that I think that there's a lot of the time where we will give our kids treats because they're kids and they need to have, and then their weight is rising, and we don't connect it back to the treats we're giving them until they're overweight and possibly obese, and then we put them on a diet that's what? Low fat.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. Again, these are kids. They run around for a living. It shouldn't take much, right? If you're saying calories in, calories out, that's their job, to play and run around. Like, how is it possible at that point? Sure. I know why Violet can't do it. Tell me why the 10-year-old over there can't do it.
The authors of the carbohydrate insulin model, so it's a different view on what what makes us like obese. Points to fundamental flaws in the energy balance model, arguing that an alternate model, the carbohydrate insulin model, better explain the obesity and weight gains. And that's like the whole purpose of your channel. That's what you've been trying to tell people for the last 2 years.
Insulin and all the other hormones that play in concert to make sure that we are A, protecting our body from sugar, and B, putting the energy where it needs to be and gathering energy when we need to gather it. It's so hard for us to understand how it could be that I'm sitting here right now in front of you with months worth of energy on me, and still I'm going to get a signal probably in a few hours to get something to eat. And why would my body do it? Why not just take the energy from me, right? But there's a balance that my body's trying to keep. The same way that your body's trying to keep a balance. It's not only ever going to pull from you, it's going to pull, and it also, by the way, sometimes when it's telling you to get stuff, it's building blocks, right? It's not just about fueling the system, because really it could get the energy from me. But can it get protein and the right kind of fats from itself? Well, no, because you don't tear down your bathroom upstairs to build the bathroom downstairs, right? You get new materials to make the new bathroom.
So that balance you're talking about is, in practicality, means that like the 250 grams of carbs, if you're on a standard American diet, means that your system triggers the insulin that's going to store all of this as fat.
Yes, which is scary, because don't forget, it's not just going to store the carbs. If I ate some meat or some fat with that, it's storing all of it.
All of it.
Right? When we're in storage mode, we're in storage mode. And then I'm going to be hungry, and it's going to push me to get more food.
So according to the lead author, Dr. David Ludwig, an endocrinologist at Boston Children's Hospitals and professor at Harvard, the energy balance model doesn't help us understand the biological cause of weight gain.
I've said it so many times. We are not machinery that burns calories. Like, we don't burn anything. Chemical reactions happen in our body. Electrical impulses are sent back and like, we are living organisms, not a toaster oven that turns on and burns calories, right? Like, when you burn your toast in the oven, that's burning calories. When you eat toast, that's metabolizing toast. And it's a completely different scenario. Digestion, absorption, and then elimination. That process our body has to go through to pull out the energy. So ATP, adenosine triphosphate, like, I can't remember what, but that ATP energy source that's inside of us that makes things happen, like, it's not a calorie. This is
and it's important because like you're not metabolizing carbs the same way as fat, the same way as protein, whereas like calories in, calories out seems to think all like them all the same. Like,
and they're not.
Even worse than that, like they tend to tell you to avoid fat because per gram you have your 9 calories of energy in fat, whereas carbs and proteins you have only 4.
You know, the thing that's in my head right now is like, if you try to use the wrong tool, then you're not going to understand how well the fastener works. If I'm trying to hammer in a screw, it's not going to go well. And I feel like that's what's happening with this whole a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. No, a nail and a screw are different. And I need to make sure that if my body is made for carbs, so think those little animals like bunnies and all the ones that have multiple stomachs, cows, if my body is made for carbs, then the instrument to get through that is going to be different than when your body is made for meat. Right? The instrument in here is different. And I don't think there's any carpenter or even at home, the mother who needs to hang a picture is not going to take a screw and start hitting it with a hammer. Right? We can see that there's a physical difference between these two things. You need to use the right energy source for the animal you're trying to feed. Don't feed your bunny steak. It's probably not going to be a happy bunny. And try your best to feed yourself the steak.
For example, like during a growth spurt, for instance, adolescents that may increase their food intake by 1,000 calories a day. But does their overeating cause the growth spurt, or does the growth spurt cause adolescents to get hungry and overeat?
I understand what they're saying. They're saying the chicken or the egg thing. But I'm also going to add to that, why are we calling needing more energy overeating? If I need more energy, that's not overeating. That's giving my body what it needs. And it goes back to this idea of eating to satiation. At different stages of our little people's lives, if we just let them eat to satiation, what we'd notice is that those occasions where I'm fighting you and stuffing you full of food when I shouldn't be, if I would let you eat to satiation then I would see the times where, now she must be growing because look at how much she's eating. And the ebbs and flows would start to make sense. We're constantly overfeeding our kids, and then annoyed when they're eating too much in adolescence.
Yeah. Can you imagine in a now much better position we'd be if, like, during those growth spurts, if we were feeding our kids the right thing instead of carbs like protein, maybe they would be in a much better position too.
Think education. We're building our children's brains with not enough fat in their diet. I'm even less worried about how overweight they are. I'm worried about your brain. Our brain continues to be growing and processing and making links until the age of 25. And I've had people talk about being on a low fat diet from the age of 10. There's a problem there. Not to mention, we should be eating natural fats, not the processed garbage that we're often, our foods in fast food are fried in. The margarine that we put on instead of butter, because heaven forbid we have some butter. We should be using natural fats, guys.
In contrast to the energy balance model, the carb insulin model makes a bold claim. Overeating is the main cause of obesity. Instead, the carb insulin model lays much of the blame for the current obesity epidemic on modern dietary patterns characterized by excessive consumptions of foods with a high glycemic load. So maybe just for the viewers, high glycemic load, what do we mean by that?
That's the amount of carbohydrate that's going to affect your body, right? And I feel like the interesting thing there is they're pointing out that, and we know this by looking at the Canada Food Guide, the American Food Guide, the wherever you live food guide, the amount of fruits, vegetables, nuts that they tell you to eat compared to how many servings of meat that they tell you to have, the balance is wrong. And when we eat especially high carbohydrate fruits and vegetables and high carbohydrate grains, the load on our body is well too much.
So they're like example of high glycemic load, in particular processed, rapidly digestible carbs. These foods cause hormonal responses that fundamentally change our metabolism, driving fat storage, weight gain, and obesity.
I feel like they found a sneaky way to say processed food without actually just saying processed food in that last little bit. And it's true, that of course. I mean, I feel like sometimes when I'm talking to my wellness warriors, I just assume that that processed foods are the devil. But the truth is, obviously we need to mention that. It's so important for us to eat the foods that are going to give us the protein that we need to build us.
Maybe it's not also obvious to you guys, like a rapidly digestible, so everything like white bread, pasta, obviously I think all the sugary, the candy, everything with white sugar is like super quickly processed by your body and stored as fat. So this is probably the first thing you want to take out of your diet.
Absolutely.
So I like also their example of why you feel hungry all the time when you eat a high carb diet. So when we eat highly processed carbs, like the body increases insulin secretion and suppresses glucagon secretion. This in turn signals fat cells to store more calories, leaving fewer calories available to fuel muscles and other metabolically active tissues. The brain perceives that the body isn't getting enough energy, which in turn lead to feelings to hunger.
And glucagon is the hormone for protein, right? So it's interesting. It's suppressing the one that's going to talk to. It's doing so many things that are putting your body in a bad position. It's unreal. It's just crazy.
Yeah, indeed.
Sugar is not our friend.
You eat a bunch of sugar, you store everything as fat, your body needs to get rid of that. And then your brain sees that because you stored everything that you have a lack of energy. Basically, that's why you're feeling hungry right after.
Your entire body's
So,
seeing that you stored
yeah.
everything away. Like the truth is that every cell in your body is looking for energy at some point or time. It's
You were smiling at the beginning. I'll smile at the beginning. No, it's crazy indeed. Okay, let's keep
honestly,
reading.
one of the things that we need to think about is that if you take all the time to turn up all the heaters in the house and heat the house up, and then to open all the windows and let all the cold air in, and then you're going to have to turn around and turn all the heater, and it's
Yeah.
an exercise in futility. And what's happening is you're wasting electricity and you're losing energy, and right, but we're going to keep spending because, and it's just bad idea. It doesn't help us.
But surprising, like in the next paragraph, like while the carb insulin model is not new, its origins dates from the early 1900s, and like there's been tons and tons and tons of research. Moreover, the authors have identified a series of testable hypotheses that distinguish the two models to guide future research. Yet, it's still not like our governments and like the food guides still don't take that into account.
Why?
120 years after, like I'm flabbergasted.
Why?
Money. Yeah,
Money. Money. There's no money or not enough money in selling us meat and more meat and then meat. And even though they could make money from that, I mean, honestly, they could. And what's more frustrating to me than any of that, you don't need a lot of people to make money. Because I guarantee you that if the government would change the Canadian food guide and the American food guide and really put a food guide there that was clear, carbohydrates are causing your weight gain. If it was clear, people would still buy chocolate bars. They would.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. How do I know? I still drink alcohol. Now, do I do it as often as I used to? No. But the truth is, once in a blue moon, I still drink alcohol. So I know that there are going to be people who are going to still eat cookies, still buy chips, still. Now, am I encouraging you guys to go out and drink alcohol? No. Am I encouraging you to eat cookies? No. All I'm pointing out is there's zero need to lie to us and keep us on the treadmill, giving you money and killing our bodies, trying to be thin. And the only reason they can do that, because we're still reproducing. There's lots of new people that are coming into the story. And when Violet's not able, Michelle will be able. And when Michelle is not able, Terry will be able. There's always going to be somebody to... Do not let them treat you like a number, please.
Doesn't change the fact that like them putting the truth on those guides, that doesn't change the fact that carbs are creating cravings and you want to eat more. So like you said, it wouldn't change the fact that people would probably like eat more chocolate and as much chocolate and cookies as they are right now. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know if it'd be as much, but my point is not that. My point is that they're still going to make money.
Yeah, they should put like carbs will cause you to die or something like that, like on cigarette packets here.
And do people still buy cigarettes?
They do.
Right? For the number of years that we've known that those things are harmful, they shouldn't be around. And yet people still buy them. And that's my point, is that I don't think these foods are going away. But do I think that we could get to a position where the profit margins are not as humongous as they are? Do I think we can get to a place where you and me, that we go to the kitchen to make a meal, are making meals that make sense for our kids, for our parents, and for ourselves, right? Because that's the other thing that's really sad. How many of our older generation are in homes or being taken care of by people who just throw some rice and a small little piece of meat on a plate, throw some pasta with some marinara sauce. Is marinara the one with meat?
Yeah, no, the marinara is the one without meat.
They don't feed them the protein that their bodies need. We live longer the more muscle we have on our body. But how do I keep muscle on my body if I don't eat protein? We waste away in our older years and we think it's because we're old. No, it's because we're not eating enough protein to support the body. I still got hyped up. I don't understand.
No. But they say it like in the next paragraph, actually, like adoption of the carb insulin model over the energy balance has radical implications for weight management and obesity treatment. Rather than you urge people to eat less, a strategy that usually doesn't work in the long run, the carb insulin model suggests another path that focuses more on what we eat. According to Dr. Ludwig, reducing consumption of the rapidly digestible carbs that flooded the food supply during the low-fat diet era lessens the underlying drive to store body fats. As a result, people may lose weight with less hunger and struggle, like we did. And honestly, like all keto people did that were doing keto properly. You eat until you're satiated. I have not much of trouble with that word, but yeah, like you eat until you're not hungry, and you lose the weight.
It is so amazing how doing the right thing leads to more of what? Doing the right thing, which leads to more of what? Doing the right thing. It's not brain surgery. It's not that hard. It's not, it's not, if I eat properly, do I have to eat every 5 seconds?
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree with you, Pat. I love this article. I'm so happy that we found it.
Yeah. It's a question of money, but like I'm just trying to think
okay.
like I know for sure Canada is a big producer of cereal, but I'm not sure
Uh-huh.
which one. I think it's wheat. But I was more thinking about like all the fast food chains and stuff like that, where they can probably somewhat easily adapt, well, except maybe for the French fries. But I do think it's possible our society could adapt to a change like that. I think the government would be probably like the hardest part with like the countries that are big cereal and grain producers and stuff like that.
But how did we become such big cereal and grain producers for
that's a good
human
question.
consumption? And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like the thing is, if we understand that whatever we were doing is now harmful, can't we make a change? Shouldn't we make a change? I think it's important to make a change.
Yeah.
I agree with you that
yeah.
if there's a financial reason that we're doing this, we need to back up and look at how do we make money in a different way so that our people can be healthy.
And it's definitely not going to be I'm going to say like a top-down approach where like it's not going to come from the government. It's going to be a bottom-up where we all need to make those changes for eventually like the governments to react and adapt their stuff.
Oh, what I think I'm hearing you say, Pat, is that every wellness wearer needs to share this video
Yeah.
on your Facebook, on your Instagram,
sure.
on your TikTok, on your whatever you use. Send it through the mail. You need to share the video so that more people can understand that the real way that we lose weight is through eating properly, and that means eating less carbohydrate.
And the article is going to be linked in the description down there.
Share the video.
So funny last paragraph of the article, the authors acknowledge that further research is needed to conclusively test both models and perhaps generate new models for like that better fit the evidence. I did find like it's funny because those articles, like it's never black or white. Like they show through the article that a new model is like works better, but in conclusion, we need to do more research. It's always like that. Like,
I find it funny, but I also find it a little bit insulting to us because really what it comes down to is that we know that this is going to make food companies mad. We know that this is going to make pharmaceuticals mad. And so we're hedging our bets by saying, but we're going to do more research. Do we need more research to know what to feed a lion? Do we need more research to know what to feed a giraffe? No, right? Do we need more research to know what to feed rabbits? But we need more research to know what to feed humans. We can see our internals and we can see what they're closer to in the animal world. Nobody's telling the zoo to feed the lions lettuce.
Try that with your cat just to see.
Right, we're not being told to feed our cats lettuce and broccoli and whatever, right?
Yeah, of course not.
Come on.
Yeah.
There's a video on the screen right here that's going to help you to know how to do a keto lifestyle appropriately. Wellness, we're so happy that you come back. And everybody who's new, welcome.
If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and ring the bell so you know when our next video is coming.
I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition.
Talk to you next week.
Can't wait to talk to you again next week.
When there's like 5 cuts.